Well, the ECO and SCO numbers came out yesterday, and I was going to walk you guys through each county here and also kind of discuss. We were off a little. We were hoping ECO was going to pay in Toole and Glacier counties. Um, what ended up happening is we were off just a couple of bushels in our estimate, but that makes like a 10% difference in the payout or the county average percent. So I just wanted to tell you guys we're sorry if that was money that you were budgeting. Um, all along, we knew it was going to be kind of on the edge, but I assumed that our customer base probably had the higher end of the yields in the county. But I think maybe what happened in these counties, um, Toole and Glacier, there's a lot of stuff that we don't insure actually that's north of Cut Bank and in a reasonably decent swath of western Toole County up in the rim that was maybe some of the higher yielding stuff in the county. So that drug our averages up a couple bushels. Sorry, those counties ended up off. The other thing is the NAS data, they cut the funding to NAS, the surveys that you guys fill out as farmers. And what that did is it delayed or altogether eliminated a lot of the data that we had access to for estimates. So I'm really sorry for what you guys are going through. My gosh, I got up this morning and we missed the rain. Now the dust is blowing everywhere. And I really feel for everybody that's going through that. If you want to call and discuss this more, or you just want to call and talk, for gosh sakes, always feel free to do that with any of us here at the office. So with that, I will get into where things settled out. A lot of the counties are triggering payments, and this will just kind of walk you through county by county how things turned out. So thanks so much, you guys. We appreciate it. So here we go. Here's the final ECO and SCO numbers by county and by crop. So first thing is, this presentation is just covering the dryland crops. Most all the irrigated crops are triggering losses as well if you're in an irrigated county because of the water cuts. So if you're an irrigated guy, you're going to get a number from us today if you were insured with us. If you're not one of our customers, it's very likely that you are going to get an SCO and an ECO payment possibly for that. This is assuming you're in revenue protection. Obviously, the price drops are a lot of what trigger this, that you're at the 75% level. ECO pays when the county gets below 95% of its average, remember, and then SCO below 86%. So the first county we have up here is Toole County. And like I said, ECO triggers when you're below 95% of average. The barley came out right at 95% for this county. Canola, we knew all along that wasn't going to pay. That's 240% of the average. Remember, our average yield is now drugged down to about 600 pounds. Good news is we had a 1,400 pound average yield for canola for Toole County, which is going to drag this number back up quite a bit. And just real quick, all of these numbers are above where our county average was, except for oats for yield. So one positive of this is our yields for next year should come back up some on ECO and SCO. So dry peas, that one actually ended up being quite a bit higher than we thought. Our agency average for the dry pea yields was like 900 pounds. The county's average ended up being about 1,300. So obviously some huge dry pea crops that were not in our customer database here that drug that up. And so the lentils, which I assume lentils were a shoe-in to pay because of the price drop, they ended up at about 100% of the county's average revenue because of this higher yield. Like I said, that will also drag those yields up next year. Oats are a payer, 29 bushels, and the county average was 34. And then the wheat and the winter and spring wheat were right like barley. We were right on the cusp of paying. Like I said, our estimates, I think, were at 31 bushels. This ended up at 33 for the county. But what that did is it drug it up from like 86% average to 98% just out of the payer level. So there's Toole County. Glacier County, very similar situation. Barley a ways above average up there, pretty good barley crops. There's 62 bushel average for the county, and your county average is 44. So huge crops, especially in the northern part of the county. Canola, of course, not paying in any of these counties, so I'll just quit reviewing that with the rest of these. And then good dry pea crops, so almost 2,000 pounds average for the county, and your county average yield right now is 1,200. Wheat was right on the edge as well, so that's where we were thinking maybe ECO would pay in Glacier, but we ended up a few bushels higher than what our estimate had, so that got us right to the edge of paying in Glacier and Toole. So now we're going to roll into the counties that are getting payments. I just wanted to cover the two that were right on the cusp but didn't quite make it on these crops. Liberty County. So this one, the barley's above the pay level. So if you had barley, you're not going to get a payment there, and the same with canola. Smooth peas, the price didn't drop as much on, so they're above the payout level, but the lentils dropped enough in price, and so would have the large kabuli chickpeas, that you're going to get your ECO and your SCO out of the dry pea types there pretty much. You're going to see the lentils ended up at 78% of average. It's going to get you part of the SCO payment and all the ECO. Similar going to be for large kabulis. And then I don't have small kabulis on here, but the small kabuli chickpeas actually went up in price, so you wouldn't receive a payment for those in that county. If you have oats, that triggered there again as well. And then the wheats, kind of like we were guessing, I think, to start off here, but it mostly triggered all of your ECO payment, but no SCO on the wheat. We were at 87 and 89% average for winter versus spring there. So if you guys were in ECO, you're going to get a good chunk of that payment, but you're not going to get any SCO in the wheat portion. Hill County. So barley, not very good there. So 65%. So you're going to get all the ECO and SCO, assuming you're at the levels we discussed at the beginning. Smooth peas are going to get all the ECO money and a little bit of SCO, and then the other lentils and large kabulis would get all the ECO and SCO money because of the price drop there. So pretty big payments coming for pulse crops in Hill County. The wheat was just a little too good. So we're at 38 bushels average for the county for wheat. Your county average is at 32 right now. So we were at 100% of the average, or right at average revenue, even with the price drops in that county. So no payment on wheat for ECO or SCO, but for the pulse crops, yes. And for barley, yes. Okay, moving on to Cascade County. Barley will pay. The wheats will pay completely out. For you guys, you're only at 40 bushel average, which for your county is low. Like we discussed in our previous presentations, your county average is so high now on wheat for the good years that you had that it doesn't take much to trigger complete ECO and SCO payment out here. So 53 bushel average for the county, and you ended up coming in at 40.8 plus the price drops. That gets you to complete payouts of ECO and SCO, assuming you're in revenue protection at 75%. The dry peas, the lentils, and the chickpeas will pay completely out roughly on ECO and SCO, and then the smooth peas and the small kabulis would be right at that ECO payment level. But basically every crop in your county is going to trigger a payment except for like Austria peas that didn't have a harvest price figured. So pretty big payouts in Cascade County if you're an ECO and SCO guy there. Ponderay, pretty tough year. There was some water cuts, obviously, but also the dry land was affected by some relatively severe drought. So we've got barley that ended up only at 48 bushel average for the county, and your county average is 52. You compound the price drops on top of that, so you came out at 74% of average on barley for your county for dry land. That's going to trigger complete payout of ECO and SCO, assuming you're at 75%. Winter wheat and spring wheat, same thing. We're right at about 75% for the winter wheat and 77% for the spring. So slight reduction in your SCO payment on the spring wheat, but most all of that's going to get paid out as well. And then oats again in every county seems to have triggered. All the pulse crops in your county weren't very good. So your county average is only 800 pounds for pulses. So that's going to trigger payments across the board on ECO and SCO for pulse crops in Ponderay County. In Teton County, that same thing, extreme drought situation over there. And so your barley is at 52% or 62% of average. Your lentils 55, and the smoother yellow peas 66. Somehow I missed the wheat in here, but I would assume the wheat would have been a payer in this county too as well, but I'll look that up. So I'm sorry for Teton County. I can get you more clarity later if you're one of those customers. If wheat did trigger for you, we'll be calling you here soon with a check and a number for your loss amount. And once again, canola, finally, we kind of worked our way out of all those new seed crappy canola varieties. So even in some tougher years, canola is actually starting to yield like it should. So you can see we had about a 20 bushel an acre canola average here, where our county average is 815. Good news is that's going to start pulling our canola yields in all these counties up to where that'll make that a viable crop for everybody. And then in Choteau County, the wheats, which is the big thing in that county, they're right on the edge of SCO starting to trigger, but you'll get all your ECO money. So you basically cut an average crop in that county. Your county average is 48 bushels. You cut 48 bushels, but the price dropped enough to trigger some payments. Your barley's to where ECO and SCO both should pay. And then the dry peas, ECO only, and then lentils and large kaboolies ECO and SCO because of the price drops. So that pretty well covers the bulk of the counties that we insure here. Good news for a lot of you guys, right? There's crops that are triggering kind of across the board in a lot of these counties. I will say, for those of you that are going through a tough situation here of extreme drought, crops not germinating, looking at the potential of some pretty substantial losses, there are a few positive things happening. So the wheat market every day, as that ratchets up, that's ratcheting your coverage up as well. If we get the corn market to start to tick up, that'll help you feed barley guys out as well. So even if we don't have bushels, as these commodity prices increase, you're going to get potentially paid substantially more than what your initial guarantee was in the crop insurance, which hopefully will help buffer this. So we pray for market increases and some rain would be helpful, but if we don't get the rain and we're short the bushels, obviously we're here to help you guys through that. And that's the reason you're in revenue protection and ECO and SCO. And years like this, obviously, if we don't get the rain, the county programs are going to trigger. And there's a chance the wheat doesn't look real great all over the U.S. We could get a pretty good run in the market, let's hope here. So we'll keep you guys abreast of what's going on, and just wanted to update you on where we were at, and thank you for listening.